This is second lecture, Econ 102, that is Principle of Economy. In the last lecture, we make a general introductions about macroeconomics. We define microeconomics and macroeconomics. We highlighted the difference between microeconomics and macroeconomics. If you can recall, the major differences between the two lies in the unit of analysis. The micro is interested in analyzing the individual economic agents, while the macro concerned with aggregate study of the entire economy and how different economic agents interact within an economy. And we also explained the major concerns of microeconomics, which was to achieve overall economic welfare by ensuring that the output is growing. So we can only know whether output is growing by analyzing the national income, which is the topic of today's discussion. That's the national income, how national income is accounted, and what are the factors that made of the national income computation possible. Going by the slides, national income accounting provides us with exposed data about national income. It cannot explain the level and the determinant of national income. The following identities are true for any level of income. In order to explain and predict the level of national income models, in order to predict the level of national income, models are constructed. So from this, we can understand that the national income is given some ex post data, a data to be generated measuring the entire performance of the economy. And there were a lot of models that were constructed, which can easily help in predicting the national income of the economy. You can easily make a prediction with aid of some model constructed in the economics. First, before analyzing national income, it's good to know the three types of markets in the economy and how the economy is being modeled into maybe 2-sector model, 3-sector model, 4-sector model, and so on and so forth. The essence of modeling is to ease the economic analysis to enable us have a clear path of interpretation. For instance, if we held some variable constant, we can be able to see how the two factors are working together, and if there were disequilibrium, what are the mechanics to be employed, to be adopted in order to address such disequilibrium. So in 2-sector model, the government and the international trade are be relaxed, are keep out of modeling. What we're having is households and firms. The households are the factor, while the firms are the product. The household constitutes, from this slide you can see the factor market, while the firm constitutes the product market. And these two are interrelated. There is no way in which firm can produce goods and services without hiring the households, without hiring the productive factors. The land, labor, capital, and entrepreneur are essential in making sure that goods and services are produced. So firms hire the factors, services in the factor markets. They engage and produce goods and services. And you can see from the charts, the circular demonstrates that the factor service or the factor owners offer services to firm, while the firm, as shows in the product markets, produce goods and services. The factors, they earn the income, the wages and salary in return by offering their productive services to the firms. So the aggregations of this flow of income That's the income generated by the factory services, that's the factory owner, and also the profits made by firm or income generated from selling goods and services to factory or from individuals gives what is called national income. The interaction between the factors and the firms, we can say that in the absence of government, in the absence of international trades, they must be able to give us the true national income identity. So what are the distinctions between the GDP and the GNP? When we say GDP, we are measuring the goods and services produced within the economy. That is gross domestic product, the total goods and services produced within the economy in the year. Since the national income are mainly expressed in monetary terms, we measure the value, the monetary value of such goods and services produced in the economy within a year. So total market value of market prices of final goods and services produced by the citizen in an economy is national income, GNP. GNP is concerned with the nationality of those that engage in productivity, while the GDP is concerned with domestic productivity of goods, whether goods are produced within the country or not. If the goods are produced within the country, irrespective of the nationality of those that produce, you are not interested on who produce goods. What matters is, are the goods produced in Cyprus? Are the goods produced in northern Cyprus? If the goods are produced in northern Cyprus, irrespective of whether those that produce, they are Turkish, they are Pakistani, they are Indian, they are Britain, they are Nigerians, they are Africans, or whatever. Once the goods are produced within the economy, we can see that the measurement is gross domestic product produced domestically. While if we are interested in knowing the nationalities of those that produce the goods, where they came from and what they produce, then we are measuring the gross national products. Then measurement of gross national product, it extends beyond the borders. The Cypriots staying in America, staying in Turkey, staying in United Kingdom, all their productivity must also be included if we are measuring the national income through GNP. You go beyond the border. All the nationals that produce outside the country, we take into considerations of the value of goods and services they produce. That's why GNP is outside the border, while the GNP is within the boundary. So GNP measures the goods and services produced in the economy within the economy. Then what are the components of GNP and GDP? First, flow of concept, the resale of existing, going by the slide you can see resale of existing household, no. Sales of used car, we don't consider. Commission and brokers, we consider its imputed rents of owner-occupied dwellings, yes. Capital gain is not income. Only interest earned from the capital gain are considered. Then GNP can be real. A real GNP is when you remove the impact of inflation. The nominal GNP that you arrived, then you use the GNP deflator times 100. You remove the impact of inflation, then we have what is called real GNP. While per capita GNP is when you divide the total GNP by the population size. Then we have what is called per capita GNP. Then how do you measure GNP? There were some approaches used in measuring GNP. The first one is income approach. Income approach is when you measure the value of incomes that were received from the national goods, from the factors that made of the productivity, the total income received by productive factors within the economy. if you measure all the factors that are earned by the land labor, the capital entrepreneur you have, then we are using what is called income approach. While the output approach measure the GDP at the factor cost, that's the value of output that such productive factors produce within an economy. Then that's the output approach. Then the expenditure approach is concerned with the total spendings of productive factors. If you measure the expenditure incurred from the goods and services produced in the economy, then we say that we measure the national income through expenditure approach. Whatever the approach you took, the value is the same. The income, the output, the expenditure give the same national income figure. This is because it is out of the goods and services we produce that we spend money to purchase. Our expenditure are on the goods and services we produce. So also the income that we are spending are the rewards of our labors. So you can see that the income we generate, we realize by selling our factory services, we are using the same income to purchase goods and services, that the expenditure. What are we purchasing? The goods and services, that the output. So they are the same thing. They give the same answer. So going by the expenditure approach, there were some components that we consider. And the identity that we usually use is C plus I plus G plus X minus M. The C stands for consumption, I for investment, G for government expenditure. Then X is for the exports. Then M is for the imports. So X minus M are the next net exports, that's the leftover. So if the export is greater than the imports, then net export will be positive. If on the other hand, if the import is greater than the exports, then the net export will be negative. So GDP at the market price includes, going by the slide, indirect sales plus indirect subsidy. It will yield GDP at a factor cost. Then on that's output approach. Then the income factor, net income from abroad, that the earning from the abroad, it will yield GNP at factor cost. When you subtract depreciation, then we have the income approach. The income approach is constitutes W plus I plus P. That's the wages, interest, rent plus profit. That's a factor earning. That's the earning of factors of production. Another important factor is NNP at the factor of cost, which is one retained profit minus and social insurance. That's mandatory provident fund minus direct business tax plus transfer payments. It will give the personal income. If you subtract the direct personal taxes, it will have what's called disposable income. That's income after tax. Income that you can use for consumption, and disposable income minus consumption will give what is called savings. So this is the detailed approach of income. The income approach concerned with the total earnings of productive factors, like the wages, interest, rent, and profits. That will give NNP, net national product, at the factor cost. Aggregating all this have what is called national income. Then the other approach is in the output approach, which measures the total value of goods and services produced in the economy, as we explained earlier. And the last of which is the expenditure approach. And the expenditure approach measures the total expenses incurred by households. Then the expenditure approach, one thing that must be avoided is double counting of goods. Sometimes you find that individual incur the expenses, and some of the expenses are intermediate. If care is not taken, there must be double calculations in the expenses. Then what are the merits and the uses of national income? National income is good, is essential to enable us to compare different standards of living of different countries. That will enable us to come up with a conclusion that maybe country A are having better standard of living relative to country B. The national income also provide information about general economic activities, and that will enable government to plan, to make planning. And each government, a government that fails to plan, then plans to fail. So planning is essential, and with national income figure, it enables government to plan. The national income is also essential to enable the government to know the percentage of changes within a period of time. These are some of the importance of national income. Then there were some limitations of national income. First, national income may underestimate the standard of living or welfare. Sometimes national income cannot capture the standard of living or the welfare of individual. And there were some services that are excluded in the national income. And such things affect the accurate national income statistics. And there were some non-market services that are not being reported in the national income. For instance, when I build the house and I occupy the house, instead of renting the house and earn income. So occupying the house means that such services are not being included in the national income. So also, when the housewife provides some services within her family, she's not earning anything, but she adding a value. And national income is not capturing the services provided by the housewife. And there were some illegal transactions that are not being accounted by national income. For instance, the holding, black market, and so on and so forth. These are some of the limitations that national income is not being able to calculate. So also, there were some undesirable side effects of production. Each example, air pollution, traffic congestion, and so on and so forth. All these things are not being captured in national income, and this is some of the limitations of national income. Another limitation of national income is double counting of goods. Some goods are being counted more than one times, and that will inflate the national income accounting. Similarly, as we explained earlier, that prices of goods and services are sometimes fluctuating to the extent that we may have inflation or deflation. So in a period of inflation, it will inflate the national income accounting, and in a period of deflation, it will deflate the national income accounting. Okay, this is all we have for today's lecture. I'm hoping in the next lecture we are going to treat more important issues. Until then, I say bye-bye. Thank you.